I recently rewatched The Chosen Season 3 just to be able to give you a recap before Season 4 comes out. Most of you probably have watched the show more than me, but I decided it would be of help to anyone who doesn't remember the events of the previous season. I am including everything you should know about, from major events to character backgrounds. All important details about Season 3 are in this video. I hope you enjoy it. Let's start. As you know, The Chosen loves flashbacks and it sure starts Season 3 with a great, although somber one. Episode 1 delves into Matthew's family and shows why his family disowned him. His father, Alphaeus, doesn't like the fact that Matthew is working for the Romans as a tax collector. He feels his son has betrayed his people and now Matthew is dead for them. He even tells his wife that they will sit Shiva, meaning they will mourn the loss of a family member, aka Matthew. Back to the present, Jesus is giving the Sermon on the Mount where he talks about reconciling with one's brother, among other things.
Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them.
Which impacts Matthew and later results in him going back to his parents' house. His parents now welcome him with open arms and his father even calls him son again. All is well. The Sermon on the Mount impresses a lot of people, and it even introduces no one other than Judas into Jesus' team. Before all the disciples return to their home, Joanna, who has grown a special interest in Jesus and his teachings, brings a message from John the Baptist, who is in Herod's prison. Thanks to Joanna's help, Andrew visits his older teacher who asks him all about Jesus and his sermons. After Jesus' followers return to Capernaum, Simon and Eden want to have some privacy, but that's prevented thanks to Nathanael and Simon Z who are staying with them. Simon manages to keep his friends silent and he and Eden decide to have a baby, thinking that Simon would remain in Capernaum for a while. While Thomas stays with Zebedee's family, the girls stay together. Also affected by the Sermon on the Mount, Andrew apologizes to Mary for his behavior after her second relapse. A new administrator is appointed to the synagogue, Jairus, who will have an important storyline in the season later. In the rest of the season, Jesus has important tasks for his disciples. Right in episode 2, he tells them how he has chosen them as his apostles to everyone's surprise. Now they will be sorted into teams of 2 and travel to different places to spread Jesus' message as well as perform miracles. Believing himself to be a cripple, little James is shaken. He doesn't believe how he's supposed to perform miracles on others while he needs one himself. He even asks Jesus why he doesn't heal him, but Jesus' response is not surprising. Because his story would be more interesting this way. If people saw a disabled man preaching God's words, that would be a more unique testimony. Little James will be healed, but not in this life. While the disciples go on their journey, Jesus, on the other hand, returns to his hometown Nazareth for the last time and has an epic showdown with Rabbi Benjamin in the synagogue. Perhaps the most famous of all the chosen scenes happens right here. Thanks to Lazarus, who convinces Rabbi Benjamin to let Jesus give the teaching, Jesus claims that he's the one who brings salvation and redemption. When Rabbi Benjamin asks him whether he's claiming to speak for the Lord or if he's claiming to be the Messiah, Jesus answers yes. Perfect response. And when he doesn't recant, the rabbi explains that Jesus will have to be executed according to the law of Moses, to which Jesus responds,
I am the law of Moses.
Even though they take him to the edge of a cliff for an execution, Jesus proclaims this is not when he dies and leaves Nazareth to everyone's surprise. At the same time, the disciples have already started their journey and we watch a montage of their healing and preaching. When they come back, a few things are different. First of all, Eden is not herself. Something obviously happened, but Simon cannot figure out what. Later in the season, we learn that Eden actually was pregnant and lost her baby while Simon was gone. She had a little time to grieve, but does not want to upset Simon, so she doesn't tell him. But it's apparent that she is still hurt. This is where a great friendship spruces up out of nowhere. Simon and Gaius stumble upon each other one night while Simon is walking and Gaius gives Simon some unhelpful marital advice. Their conversations continue in the rest of the season where we find out Gaius has a son who is sick and is in need of help. Moreover, Gaius is impressed with Jesus' sermons and perhaps even has faith for him. One thing's for sure, the fact that he doesn't listen to Quintus's orders and is kind towards people is a great proof of his character.
Morning. It's all right.
While Simon and Eden are having marital problems, two people with sicknesses are introduced and their healing becomes a huge part of Season 3's story. One is Jairus' daughter. Jairus immediately starts believing in Jesus when he reads Yusuf's account on the Sermon on the Mount, so his faith is that strong. When his daughter gets sick, he tries to get the help of normal doctors, but they say there's nothing they could do, so Jairus asks for Jesus' help. The other person who's an important part of Season 3's story is Veronica, a woman who has been bleeding for 12 years. Because of her sickness, her family has disowned her and she is considered unclean wherever she goes. But she has listened to Jesus and believes that even if she touches a fragment of his garment, she could be healed. Both of them get Jesus' help in episode 5. Veronica, among the big crowd, touches Jesus' garment and is immediately healed. Jesus even calls her "my daughter" in awe of her faith.
My daughter.
I'm no one's daughter anymore.
Jairus' daughter is already dead when Jesus goes to their house, but he returns her back to life. The rest of the season continues with a focus on certain members of the apostles, as well as the growing tension in Decapolis, where people from different groups reacted badly to disciples' message. There's also a tent city growing with people who want to see Jesus gathering from all around. At one point, Simon Z goes there to check if everything's okay, but finds himself surrounded by his former group of zealots, who want to kill him for his supposed betrayal. When Jesus starts performing miracles near where the zealots can see, they give up on killing Simon, and the main zealot promises that he will go back to their order and share what he saw Jesus doing. Among the crowd is almost everyone: the Pharisees, Gaius, Jairus, and even two disciples of John the Baptist, who bring a question from him. John wants to know whether Jesus is indeed the one who is to come, meaning the Messiah, or if they should look for another. Jesus makes more messianic implications as a response, and the local Pharisee denounces him as demonic. Everyone disperses before tension rises even more, but this scene shows that this is just the beginning of the tension to come. By the way, while Jesus performs miracles, Zebedee, Tamar, and Mary work with Judas to find a way to financially support Jesus' ministry. With Tamar's understanding of pallets and Judas's financial mastery, they buy a plot of land with olive trees to make olive oil. It's just a start, but Judas helps them get a good deal. Tensions between Mary and Tamar also rise in Season 3. Mary doesn't like the way Tamar is so candid about her opinions and feels that she should sell her jewelry to help support the ministry. She also thinks that Tamar hasn't suffered enough compared to her or others in the group and is jealous of how easy it has been for Tamar to join the group. But Mary is wrong, as Tamar reveals what happened to her family. Her village had been wiped out by a rival tribe, her mother and father along with it. The necklaces she has been wearing still has her mother's blood among the beads, and that's why she cannot sell them. So it's not like Tamar doesn't know any suffering, she does. Thankfully, they apologize to each other and all is well between them. In episode 6, Eden finally tells Simon that she lost a baby while Simon was gone preaching. And of course, Simon is furious. What happens afterwards is quite crucial and is perhaps the most important part of Simon's story. In the final episodes, the story comes to a boiling point. Jesus and the apostles plan to go to Decapolis, but Simon misses the meeting. Jesus asks John to bring Simon because he says Simon's presence is crucial to the success of the mission. When Simon comes back, John tells him where they're going, and here we learn the real reason of Simon's anger. He doesn't understand why Jesus goes out of his way to heal strangers, but doesn't help those closest to him, like Eden. On the way to Decapolis, people from different backgrounds are all angry at each other and at Jesus. Some Jewish people don't understand how Jesus can be conversing and consulting with the Greeks. Each different group has representatives, and Jesus speaks to all of them about what it means to be faithful. The local Jews are frustrated that Jesus is introducing a new way that includes the Gentiles, while the Gentiles are intrigued and wondering about it as well. The crowd grows even more and more around them and add up to thousands. They spend a night there, and in the morning, Jesus continues his preaching. The crowd is hungry, but there's not enough food to feed them all. There's only 5 loaves and 2 fish. Jesus multiplies what they have, so much so that everyone is fed and there are even leftovers. Everyone is impressed and shocked, but Simon is still angry because this act shows him that Jesus can help everyone whenever he wants to. So when he's not helping someone, it means he chooses not to. Simon doesn't understand why. After the feeding of the 5,000, the apostles go back to Capernaum on a ship, but Jesus stays behind. It's a storm and the ship is stuck on the sea, but at one point, they see Jesus standing on water. He's walking towards them on water. Here, Simon confronts him and says his problem hasn't been faith. He just wonders why Jesus has been giving his attention to the Gentiles while the ones who have more faith in him suffer in silence. Jesus explains that trials prove the genuineness of one's faith. They walk on water together, and the season ends with an emotional scene of Simon asking Jesus not to let him go. I admit, I cried here. It was too much. This was the general story, but a few more details. Thomas asked Rhema to marry him, but Rhema said she needed to help her father gain faith first. Atticus has also been following what Jesus has been doing. He even saw him walk on water at the end of season 3. Eden had her cleansing moment in the finale when she entered water and prayed for herself and her husband. Shula and Barnaby also get healed. There were also flashbacks to David, Jesus' childhood, and Matthew's life to serve their current storyline. I think I talked about all the major things about season 3. If I forgot to add anything, please let me know in the comments. I'm also planning on doing a shorter video of what you should know before season 4 starts. Don't forget to subscribe to next season not to miss that out. Love you and see you soon.